it's like a soundtrack. You as soon as you hear it, you start
Right. And what I'm
reminiscing.
getting at is there, and it's a double-edged sword for me because if there was no internet, I wouldn't have no music career. So at the same time, like the internet made music great for a lot of independent people with subpar talent like myself. But at the same time, it's given us. I mean, there's probably 300,000 400,000 new songs hit the internet every day.
Every
So like,
day.
so none of them hit you like they used to hit you. You might be riding down the street, listening to your Spotify or listening to whatever, and you hear a song like, man, that's riding, that's dope. And it's on to the next one. This was I can remember pulling up to a party in the sand pits out in the woods where we used to go. And as soon as we roll up, I see two. I'm like, oh, they about to fight already. And I just remember Pac was playing. I got a head, but there ain't no screws in it. And I was like, oh, it's time for me to go too.
uh,
So it's like these little things you remember the soundtrack of your life because we had to live it differently. Now there's just
yeah,
so much stuff in front of us.
yeah.
But to answer your question, I was selling flooring in St. Augustine, Florida, where I grew up, and loved the job, had a blast. A drunken karaoke night, legitimately. I was doing a Beastie Boys "Fight for Your Right" party, doing karaoke, and you know how they put the little TV thing right in front of the stage, just a little bar, and this
Yeah.
fat ass, big old fat ass girl standing. I couldn't see the words, so I just started. You know, you got your mom
Uh,
brushed this and started making up words, talking about mud and trucks, this, that, and other. Some dude came up to me and was like, "Hey man, I like that country rap you was." I was like, "Country? What are you talking about? I'm drunk. I'm just out there having fun with my boys. I was always the clown, you know, whatever."
yeah.
So he took me out to his truck and he put this CD in, burnt CD, and it was the same. It was Colt Forward, and Colt had just started, like literally didn't even have an album out, nothing. It was just some burnt shit. I don't know how the dude even got a hold of it.
Yeah.
I woke up the next morning. It was my day off. I called my homeboy in Gainesville. He had a studio. I said, "Yo, he's known me all my life. He knows I'm the athlete. Knows I don't have nothing to do with music. He's a music head, big studio, this, that, and other." And I called him. I was like, "Yo, I need to book some studio time." He's like, "Oh, cool. You working with somebody? You got an artist?" Something? I said, "Nah, it's for me." He started chuckling. He's like, "What you mean for you?" I said, "Well, I'm gonna come through tomorrow and lay some shit down." He's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm a country rap." He's, what are you talking about, dude?" He's just laughing, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I'll explain it when I get there." And I went there and he was like, what is this? And I told him the concept. And straight from the jump, I was like, "Listen, I grew up a diehard hip hop fan, but I also grew up in the heart of Southern rock, where like my babysitter's mother was in the plane crash with Leonard Skinner and survived.
Oh.
Like, yeah,
Oh.
yeah, Leslie Anderson, you can look it up. She was like that. We grew up in a Moccasin Creek. In fact, the band is named after an old honky tonk bar in my town where all the Southern rock legends played at one time or another. Like, so I was always around diverse music, but for some reason, I mean, I was just gravitated toward the storytelling art form of the hip hop scene. Like, I mean, it was like I can remember getting McDonald's back in the day, and Happy Meals would give you a little 45.
Yeah. No, you're right. I remember that.
On one side of 145 was Prince's Purple Rain, and the other one was the Fat Boys Are Back.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. You're
I
right. Nah,
eat and drink and drink. And I tell you one thing,
they sure
Roberto
did have
Stank,
that.
yeah, it was
I
that
forgot
Fat
about
Boys
that.
track, right?
I forgot
And
about that though.
now I'm
Yeah.
showing my age, but so I was like, what is this? And then I just kind of fell in love with that. And when Dougie Fresh came out, and he was beatboxing, and he did the Lottie Dottie, I was like,
Yeah. That was it.
I'm hooked.
Body.
I'm hooked on this shit, right? So I was always a fan of music, but I couldn't like. I grew up in the deep South. I grew up where like all my black buddies would come to the house every day at football practice. I'm the white boy in the hood every Thursday getting his haircut. They was all accepted. It didn't matter. But my homeboy Rashid was not gonna pull up into his parents' house blasting Garth Brooks just the same as I ain't pulling up in my driveway
Yeah.
playing Uncle Luke.
Yeah.
It
No.
was
Yeah.
it wasn't a race thing. It was respect to the elders
Respect.
that didn't
Yeah.
have any idea what it was. It's like, what is
Yeah.
this?
What is
So,
this? No. Yeah.
right. So it was like I always loved it, but that was what was cool being around a country and a southern background all my life is those guitar undertones and the different stuff we could
Hmm.
put into it. So long story short, when I got to college, I just remember those weight rooms. I remember the weight room every morning. It was like whatever group was in the weight room first. Like you had a chart. Like offensive linemen would be in at 6 a.m. The DBs and it would change every day. And whoever was the early group got to control the radio.
Radio.
So
Yeah.
you knew them fat ass, nasty ass, dirty ass white offensive linemen had the radio. It was
Country
some.
all day, huh?
Nah,
Straight.
believe it or not, it was generally some headbanging like Pantera, like crazy
Oh,
country
okay.
shit. And then
Okay.
you'd always get that corn-fed defensive lineman that he'll
Yeah.
throw in the defensive line. They'll throw in and then it was like when skill positions, DBs, whatnot. The hip hop was on, and when quarterbacks got to choose, it was just like, hey, it was out of nature. Let's mix it all up because we're all
Yeah.
team, we're all jamming. And then I started looking back at that as an older man, and I'm like, damn, music was really instrumental in how I formed all my relationships and growing up from the jump. Didn't know
Yeah.
how much influence it had on me, but I had never written, never. I was always a writer. In fact, that's what I was going to school for. I was a creative writing and I'm an English major, but
Oh,
it
okay.
was. So I was like, I always had that creativity side and all that. But I
Yeah.
didn't have any musical talent. Nobody in my family. Like I can't sing. I don't hear music. I don't know notes. None of that shit. So it's like it's funny with a few songs that I actually will kind of sing the hook on. They can only be in one key, like because that's the only note that I know how to hit. So like I'll ask Target or I'll ask whoever the beat is. I'm like, is it in that key I can sing? They're like, nah, you can let get somebody else sing the hook. I'm like, cool. And I'm like, is it in that key that I can sing? They're like, yeah, you can do this. I'm like, cool. So it's like I don't understand any of it, but I'm like, I can tell stories and I can be real and I think I can touch some people. So I came into this thing a little backwards to where it's at now. Whereas, and I'm not knocking, you got a lot of the younger cats as everything's evolved.